What is it? All musical directors must go bald at some point. Oh, that was great. Hi, good to see you. So I want to bring up one thing right at the top of this, which is the song is called Self, right? So he's talking about getting out of his own way. Self, get out of my way. And we very often talk in Science of Mind, and we don't at this center anymore, but when I was growing up in this science, there was this small s for self, and then the capital S for self, right? How many of you remember hearing that? Yeah. Right? Well, there's no such thing as the small s. There really isn't. That's just a level of consciousness. It's when we decide somehow that we are less than. And so now we decide we're our human selves. So then we say the small s. But truly, you are a divine human being, and you can never be anything but a divine human being. You can never be anything but the capital S operating at whatever level you decide to operate on. So even if you're at your lower self, you are your capital S self, giving God a not such a good time. So do you all get that? That's really all there is. And thank you. So our theme this month is There Is More, okay? So the title of my talk, of course, is There Is More, but it has a question mark at the end. There is more? So I want to start with a quote from Dr. Walker. And I don't know how many of you have ever read this in the lobby. This sits in the lobby, because it always reminds me where I came from. So David Walker said this. Dr. David Walker. God, he would slap me. I am an individual. No one has ever used their mind the way I have. No one has ever laughed or cried exactly the way I have. And that's because there is only one of me for all time. My life is balanced between acknowledging my completeness and enjoying my creativity. From this day forward, I take charge of my mind, what I think, what I feel, and what I believe. My life will be what I make it, regardless of the experiences I've had or am having. How wonderful it is to be enough. And this is from his book, You Are Enough. Always have been, always will be, which is in our bookstore, I believe. So, this whole idea about being an individual, no one has ever laughed the way you've laughed. No one has ever cried the way you've cried. No one has ever succeeded the way you've succeeded. Frankly, no one's ever failed the way you failed. No one has ever done anything the way you've done it. Two people sit in the same movie theater and see totally different movies. You know, we went to see a movie this weekend, and when we left, I swear to God, I had no idea what movie my children saw. We're talking about it on the way home, and I was like, when did that happen? I was sitting there, and I didn't see some things that they saw. They're seeing things through the eyes of 16-year-old teenagers at this time of life. Now, here's the thing. You and I, we could all be seeing life through the eyes of a 16-year-old teenager if we decided to get all of that age out of the way. If we decided to stop knowing what we think we know. Because frankly, it's one of the things that stands in the way of our experiencing the more. We actually think we know what's already here. We think we already know everything there is to know about ourselves. And we think we actually even know who we are, but we base it on all the things that have happened to us in our lives. So, Dr. Walker's book, it's so funny, really fun story. When he wrote the book, and he called me, and I read a little bit of an early, I read it earlier before it got published, and I really didn't like the title. And I was like, David, you are enough? You want to really leave that legacy? You're enough? I mean, who are you? I'm enough. And I said, David, and oh my God, the discussion we had that day. Because then he really had to slap me down off of my high horse and explain to me what the book meant, even though I'd already read it. And then I got it. The idea of being enough doesn't mean that you are settling for less. It means that at any single moment in your life, you are enough to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And the more is inherent in that understanding of you are enough. You will always be enough. You always were, even when you thought you weren't, and you always will be, even when you were looking things that might be very challenging. How many of you have anything right now that's going on that may seem a little challenging to you? Okay, so that's most of you. So are you up to it? Yes or no? Yes. Are you really up to it? Yes. Are you up to it enough that you can accomplish it today? Yes. Did you just say almost? You did. Okay, the answer is yes. Yes, you are. So the first thing I want to disabuse you of is the fact that you think you are the small s ever. Or that you don't have what you need to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish in your life. I was talking to somebody right before the service who I have just seen a different side of. And as a director and as a producer and a writer, I love finding talent when I see people. I remember the first time Catherine McPhee came and sang for me. I did it as a favor to a friend who said, would you just come listen to this girl sing and see if she's as good as I think she is? Went across the street, sat down at the piano. I played for her. Can you even imagine, Paul? I played for her, and she sang over my shoulder. And the minute she opened her mouth, I was like, oh, my. And then she was here for the next 2 years. And then did what she did. There's a guy on TV now, Michael Raymond James, who started out here as part of our theater company, who's now, every time I turn on the TV, he's starring in a show. And I knew it instantly. I know these things because you can see it, because people let you see it. And every now and then they let you see it in a different way, and you think to yourself, wow, that should go somewhere. That should really go somewhere, right? The thing is, it's not going to go anywhere until you see it. The whole world can see it. But it starts here as an idea in your mind, not as an idea out there. And most of the people are spending their lives waiting for the world to give them permission to step into the more. Waiting for the ducks to, oh my God, I can't believe I don't know this now. Ducks to get in the line. Where is Oscar? Is he right there? So Oscar Rosa said, can I do your accent? He said, did you say yes? Yeah. He said, James, you just have to wait for your ducks to be in a line. And I was like, who are you, Sofia Vergara? I was like, and so now I don't remember if it's row or line. So anyway, not waiting for your ducks to be in a row. Right? So, yeah, thanks. I know that now. So I'm like beet red, I think, at the moment. So the whole point of this talk today, and this whole month, is about giving ourselves permission to step into a bigger picture of who we are. A bigger understanding, right, Sarah? Bigger understanding of who we are. Because when we really get it, then we step into every room from that place. If you are stepping into a room looking for a job because you really need a job, that desperation shows up before you enter the room. But if you step into a room because you have a project, you have something to offer, that shows up too, and the energy is completely different. That's who you get to be when you know who you are. So, more. When we talk about the thing that is more, I think we think it's more to get, but it's not. David Allen Cruz said it in the meditation, I am the more. And when we call forth the more, every month when I give a theme, I'm like calling forth the more. So a little story. Today is our stewardship brunch, and my housekeeper called in sick yesterday as she was coming to clean the house for the 70 people that are coming to my house today. So, my gardener also called in and said, I can't really be there to fix your garden. I was like, okay. So I spent 8 hours in my garden. And I'm glad I did. I've really been meaning to take the time, not 8 hours in one stretch, but I have been meaning to take the time. So I went to Home Depot. How many of you go to Home Depot? Okay, talk about more. It's the Costco of things. And so I walk into Home Depot to pick out flowers. There are just so many types of flowers. And I was in that mindset of like, I don't have time to figure out which flowers work in the sun, which flowers work in the shade. I just need to buy pretty things. So You'll decide whether I've done that when you get to my house today. So I'm walking around with one of those gigantic things, because I also have to buy about 20 bags of dirt for all the dirt decay in my backyard. So I'm going through, and there's just so, and I stopped in the middle of Home Depot and went, okay, I know this month is about the more, but I would like to see less at this particular moment. I'm calling forth the more. And it was really one of those moments and I went, wait a minute. As I can only do in my Lucy Ricardo moment. Wait a minute. So I looked out there and I went, wait a minute. I am the more. This is only about choice, James. More isn't the infinite abundance of the universe falling on your head and crushing you. More is about everything showing you what are the opportunities, what are the options, and you making a choice. How many of you have ever been just literally laid flat by all the choices you had possible in front of you, right? We get that. It's like, oh my God, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, right? And so we go nuts. So what do we end up getting done? Nothing. I'm too busy making a choice. And yet, that's really what it's all about. The more is about making a choice. Having the intelligence and the wisdom to know that the choice is already there. You know what you want. I knew that I wanted snapdragons. I did. And I knew I was going to say I wanted goldfish. I wanted those marigolds. Thank you. Just keep yelling this out to me. I knew I wanted marigolds. I knew I wanted that. And then I saw some things I didn't know I knew, and I knew when I saw them. So it's about choice. And you know what the other problem is? We keep thinking that we're going to make the wrong choice. Oh my God, what if marigolds are the wrong color? So then I saw these big, you'll see them, these big stakes that go into the ground and have solar bulbs on top. I was like, oh, those are awesome. And then I went to, where would I put them? I went, oh, who cares? Buy them and put them somewhere. And I hear myself talking to myself like this, and I'm like, wow, you're mean. So I buy these 4 things, and I take them home, and I found the perfect place for them. And Nora was like, Dad, those are beautiful. I was like, I know. And they just kind of popped out, and I made a choice to purchase them. So, but this whole time at Home Depot, which, by the way, I was at Home Depot because the lighting board broke down here yesterday, and I had to run over in the middle of gardening to come fix that. And I was like, well, I'm next to Home Depot. I might as well buy some flowers. Life unfolds perfectly at all times. So this idea of the more really translates to when you know who you are a choice to tap into the infinite possibility of the universe, the infinite probability of the universe, and say, done. Thank you. There's my choice. So, I want to read something from Ernest Holmes. He says this: we cannot live a choiceless life. How many of you think you've ever lived a choiceless life where you're not making choices? You actually are. Because if you're choosing not to choose, you've chosen. Think about that while I look up this quote. We cannot live a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second, there is a choice. So, what stops us from thinking we have a choice? What stops us from thinking we have a choice? Only one thing. One thing stops you from knowing you have a choice. It's a big thing. It's called your mind. That's the only thing stopping you. Your mind. No one's stopping you out there. Bless you. No one stops you out there. No one stops you. None of your past experiences are stopping you, no matter what they are. Your financial situation, your relationships, nothing is stopping you but your mind. That is the only thing stopping you. And this idea that we have to literally get things. We've got to change that paradigm. We've got to stop trying to get successful, to get more love in our lives. We have to stop trying to get, and Karen said it beautifully, until you know you are the more, you cannot experience the more, because you are trying to experience something vast from a limited understanding of yourself. So it has to go back to you understanding yourself as a divine human being, not just a human being who's having a spiritual experience. Because that expression always, even the I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, either way you put that, it diminishes us. I am not a spiritual being having a human experience. Why would I choose that, for God's sake, if I think the human experience is filled with challenge? And same thing as I'm a human being having a divine, a spiritual experience sometimes when I, go to a mountain and sit cross-legged. That's just as diminishing. So we do have to get back to that place where we understand I am a divine human being and I am the more. Now, the teaching you are a part of, and I want to close with this for all of our new members, and for those of you here today, to reassess your membership here at this center. Reassess, and when I don't mean the Global Truth Center so much, but I mean this philosophy. Your membership in this philosophy, your decision to live this philosophy. Dr. Ernest Holmes would say there is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And that's powerful. There is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And Dr. Walker would say that all the time. There is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And here's how this history goes. Ernest Holmes taught a man named Dr. Bitzer. Ernest Holmes, Dr. Bitzer. Dr. Bitzer had a star student named David Walker. So there was Dr. Ernest Holmes, Dr. Bitzer, Dr. David Walker, and then he had a star student named, soon to be, Dr. James Mellon. But not yet. It's coming momentarily. And not just a star student, because of course, I was going to say Jay, I was going to say you were his student, but you were my student. But you were his student first. But he had amazing ministers. He taught amazing ministers out in the field. And then I get to then claim Dr. Jonathan Zenz. If you're watching this, you'll love that. Jonathan Zenz, Rita and Patrick, Reverend Jay, Reverend Jamie, all the ministers that I get to put out into the world, and the soon-to-be ministers. So that's how this works, but here's how it works even more. Ernest Holmes said there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. By the time it morphed and found its way to me, the expression I use now, there's a power for good in the universe and you are it, so use it. So that's how we have to morph this teaching. It's got to grow. And we've got to expand. And Ernest Holmes said, there is so much more for us to know than what is in this book. And if you are still studying this book that I wrote in 1927, 50 years from now, you missed the point. I still want to teach it because it has brilliance in it. But we better be stepping into the more that is religious science. The more that is this thing called metaphysics, this thing called global understanding. So that's what this month is all about. It's about the macrocosm that is and the microcosm that is. You. You are the microcosm of this thing called life, the individual, as Dr. Walker says. And I wanted to close with that as well, going back to what he said. I am an individual. No one has ever used the mind the way I have. No one has ever laughed or cried exactly the way I have. And that's because there is only one me for all time. There is only one you. There is only one of you that shows up the way you do. There is only one of you that has the talents you have. There is only one of you that has the intelligence you have. There is only one of you that has the ideas that you have. And it is up to you to take that thing that you are, that divine human being that you are, and use it for all it's worth. Get out of the way of all the yeah buts. Get out of the way of the past, your history. Get out of the way of race consciousness. Get out of the way of anyone who would dare to tell you that you don't have within you everything you need right now, and that you are not only enough, but you are enough in this universe to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. You are the more. And if you are willing to be the more, really be the more, this month, I guarantee you that you will see your life changing. You will see your life expanding. You will see your ideas take off. You will see your success expand, your love expand, your health become more vibrant. You will find out not only who you are, but what you have inside to offer and to bring forth to the world. That's our responsibility. Namaste.